Hello and welcome to News on NTA International. I'm Nancy Godi Angonihu. On sign language is Precious or Zeminan. First, the headlines. President Bola Tinubu in New York to make his debut at United Nations General Assembly. United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres advocates attainment of SDGs and evolution of better future for the people. Federal government meets leadership of Nigeria Labour Congress, promises to address recent labor crisis and economic challenges. And now the news in full. President Bola Tinubu is set for his first participation in the United Nations General Assembly, which commences today. State House correspondent Musbah Wahab reports that the president arrived in New York Sunday evening for the global event.
President Bola Tinubu is here to open yet another page in his book of first. The significance is not only in joining the largest annual gathering of world leaders and high-ranking diplomats, but coming at the first full-scale physical gathering since COVID-19 disruption. Coming with a leaner but formidable team, the president is scheduled to address the General Assembly on Tuesday, same day with U.S. President Joe Biden to restate Nigeria's position on the global commitments.
His Excellency President Bola Ahmed Tinubu is someone who is absolutely determined to ensure that he gets the best out of every engagement for the sake of the Nigerian economy and the Nigerian people. And this is why his economic development diplomatic drive is going full steam ahead here in New York during the United Nations General Assembly.
Apart from bilateral and multilateral meetings, President Tinubu is equally expected to meet with some counterparts.
What is going to be at the forefront of the president's thinking is how he can persuade his counterparts to rally their business communities to come to Nigeria with their funds, establish facilities and industries that will massively employ our people and expand our tax revenue base in the country. And then on the other hand, the president is not just content with attracting foreign direct investment to Nigeria. He's also focused on ensuring that a win-win partnership is created with these various countries and companies in such a way that Nigerian MSMEs, that Nigerian large-scale industries, that Nigerian companies can go into these international and foreign markets and have an equal share, a fair share.
2030, the target for the actualization of the 17 Sustainable Development Goals is getting closer, but as against the dream, many countries are being left behind. That's a concern for the world governing body.
We really do need a recommitment from all leaders to deliver on the 2015 promise. We need a clear way because we do see the major barrier as the means of implementation, financing this agenda, be it the domestic resources that are needed that are under strain with many countries without much fiscal space.
Also on the agenda for the United Nations Secretary General, Antonio Guterres is another trier at a solution to the Russia-Ukraine war.
I will be receiving President Zelensky, I will be receiving President Erdogan, I will be receiving Minister Lavrov, and obviously this question will be on the table of our discussions. So I'm not going to say whether I am optimistic or pessimistic. The only thing you can be sure is that I remain determined.
While the world searches for common solutions to the global challenges, it's another opportunity for Nigeria to get the best of the platform in support of the development of policies and programs the current administration so desires. From New York, Musbah Wahab, NTA News.
Now, let's transform the world and let's bring more justice and equality to our international institutions. Let's rescue the SDGs and fight for the better future of every person that they deserve. United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres says this at the opening of the plenary of the SDG Mobilization Day. Adebola Brookslin has the details.
This week, global leaders are gathering in New York to discuss their plans and priorities for the future. UN scribe Antonio Guterres reiterates that the Sustainable Development Goals are in trouble, adding that only 15% of the targets are on track, with many going into reverse.
The SDGs will not be rescued in New York. They will be rescued in your communities. So continue listening to the people in your communities and embedding their needs and concerns across your policies and investments.
Guterres says the SDGs need a global rescue plan, urging governments to come to the table with concrete plans and proposals to accelerate progress.
Members of the business community here today, I urge you to see that sustainable development is in fact the best business plan of all. That upholding human rights, putting people before quick profit, and protecting the planet and its natural gifts are investments in future prosperity for all.
President of the 78th session of the General Assembly, Dennis Francis, says the buzzword of the day is mobilization, which suggests a sense of urgency that cannot be ignored.
It is literally crunch time. Time to roll up our sleeves and turn our aspirations and our promises into reality for the benefit of all.
Former President of Costa Rica, Carlos Alvarado, also speaks to the delegates.
The essence of being human lies in our ability to shape our own destiny. Let us seize this opportunity. No aflojar, never give up.
The Secretary General convened the SDG Action Meeting, an opportunity for key players to set out specific commitments and contributions to drive SDG transformation between now and 2030. Adebola Brookslyn, NTA News.
Engaging patients for patient safety, elevating the voice of patients is the focus of this year's World Patient Safety Day to increase public awareness, stakeholders' engagement, and for adoption of best practices to promote patient safety. Basi Taipmang in this report takes a look at the global observance of the day and the significance of the day and what Nigeria aims to do differently to ensure patients' safety.
Patient safety underscores the importance of patient safety in healthcare system. This necessitated advocacy for global solidarity and concerted action on all countries and international partners to improve on patients' care.
This is to ensure that we educate patients, we enlighten them, that when they go to the hospital and for any reason they are not treated right, they should be able to voice out. They should be able to find a way to report it either to the management of the hospital or to Savicom or even to Federal Ministry of Health so that action could be taken.
Evidence shows that patient engagement reduces healthcare error costs and improves health outcomes, healthcare delivery, quality of care, and life.
The day reminds world leaders the imperative and profound significance of enhancing the quality of healthcare delivery, a commitment Nigeria shares with the development of the first ever national policy and implementation strategy on patient safety and care. Thus, the Minister of Health representative says is in line with the renewed hope agenda of the present administration.
Safety of all medical procedures, etc. It is my hope that health facilities at all levels will adopt and implement this policy. Patient safety, as we all know, fundamentally entails preventing errors and minimizing harm to patients during provision of healthcare services.
In all this, where does the patient's right start and where does it end?
The provision says that hospitals in Nigeria should not deny patients treatment in emergency situation for any reason. Now, that does not mean that the patient is entitled to free treatment. What that section simply says is that the hospital protocol of patients going to buy card, getting admitted, and all that and wait should be waived because this is an emergency.
Basi Taipmang, NTA News.
Now, to speak more on World Patient Safety Day, I have with me in the studio the Director of Patient Safety Africa, Professor Sami Isemede. Professor Isemede, you're welcome to NTA International.
Thank you for having me.
2023 theme, accelerating the voice of the patients. Professor, what informed this theme in your thoughts?
Patients, by reason of their huge experiences of care, bring a lot to the table for the design and the development of qualitative and safe care. So, we need them. It's not enough to have the technical expertise. You need this experience. You want to have their feedback on whether the technical expertise, what it has, given, is sufficient and what we need to improve. They are the best as assessors of the care that we give them. So we believe that having patients as active partners in care rather than passive recipients of care improve patient safety. And studies have shown this all around the world, that when patients are active in their care, the quality of care improves, satisfaction rate improves, and general health outcomes improve.
Over the years, Prof, globally the world celebrates this day. What are we hoping to do differently?
Thank you. Excellent question. Over the years, we have done this. We have done this since 2019. And this year is very, very important for us in Nigeria. Today, in Nigeria, this is actually a double celebration. We are celebrating the World Patient Safety. They are also celebrating the development of the first ever national policy on patient safety and care quality. So we do have a roadmap to make a difference this time. Once upon a time, it used to be talk about patient safety, but this time it's going to be action, because not only do we have the policy, we're having a strategy and implementation plan to take it from the offices, from the research centers, from the management places to the bedside of the patient. We are breaking this down to guidelines for those at the front line of care. And this is what we believe will make the difference. Okay. I'm assured that the Federal Ministry of Health is fully engaged, and they are going to continue with the implementation of this policy that has now been developed for the first time in Nigeria.
Okay, before we let you go, Prof, what should a patient do if he or she or her rights to healthcare delivery is violated?
If any patient feels that his or her rights are violated,
yes,
he has absolute right to give feedback. Mind you, I did not use the word to complain. We don't actually call it complain anymore, because we see this as something we need. We actively solicit your feedback. We have Sevicon here in Nigeria. I'm pleased about the work of Sevicon. Unfortunately, Sevicon is focused more on reactive, having what they used to call complaint. But we're going further than Sevicon and having, a proposal on Sevicare. So that even those that are not able to complain, we're able to look at them, look at what they need and what should be done differently. So in summary, we welcome your feedback. We need the feedback for continuous quality improvement. Without the feedback, we would not know how satisfied you are. After all, you, the patient, is the head of the healthcare team. And that's why today, it's your special day for you. Want to engage with you on the basis of trust. Want to give you care that is not only safe, but care that is given with candor, care that is given with honesty, with transparency, care that you can trust, and we can work together as partners. And this is how we have synergies to improve care and to deliver qualitative and safe health care to every child, every woman.
Nigeria's patients would definitely be happy with this new directive or this new dimension. Professor Sami Isemede, thank you for coming on NTA International News.
Thank you for having me. Thank you.
The International Organization for Migration says the months-long armed conflict ravaging Sudan appears worsening the country's already dire humanitarian conditions as millions of displaced children scramble for food and safety. Adebola Brookslyn reports.
has the highest number of internally displaced persons globally, going by the recent reports from the international NGO Save the Children. The International Organization for Migration said at least 7.1 million people, including an estimated 3.3 million children, are now displaced from their homes across the country, more than double the 3.2 million IDPs prior to the conflicts that erupted mid-April. 35-year-old Ali Mohammed has 13 children, and they all live in the Antop camp in Al Jazeera State in the east-central parts of the country after they fled the war in the capital city of Khartoum 5 months ago.
We've been living in this camp since May, and we don't know when we'll return home. The future's undefined for us and for our children, who are paying the cost of this war. The situation's really bad, and we're suffering a lot.
Diseases including cholera, malaria, and fever, as well as malnutrition, are threatening millions of children. Many desperate families fleeing conflicts are sheltering in schools, camps, and with relatives, while some are living out in the open.
We want our life back. We want to see our children getting an education. We left everything behind, our homes, our clothes, our future. This war must stop.
Sudan was one of the first countries to ratify the Convention on the Rights of the Child in 1990, but years of political and economic instability, widespread poverty, and displacements have hindered the preservation of children's rights.
The scary numbers of displacement among children is alarming. It paves the way for many issues like child labor and utilizing those children in criminal activities. Child protection is needed to prevent the worst impacts of the conflict.
The military conflict between the Sudanese armed forces and the rival Rapid Support Forces in Sudan has entered its 6 months with no sign of its ending in the near future. There are fears that conditions for children and families could get even worse as the fighting continues. Adebola Brookslyn, NTA News.
This is news on NTA International. We take a break now and continue with the reports shortly. Libya's coastal city of Derna is in an urgent need of medical resources after suffering heavy devastation and disruption in the recent storm-induced flooding. Let's join Adebola Brookslyn for updates on the flood-stricken areas in Libya.
The final death toll from the devastating flash floods that hit northeast Libya's Derna city 1 week ago may reach as high as 20,000. The city's mayor, Abdul Neman Al-Gaiti, said this during an interview with newsmen. The United Nations Office for the Coordination of Humanitarian Affairs said the disaster has displaced more than 40,000 people in Libya, and that the actual number of the displaced is likely to be higher as the worst hit area, such as the city of Derna, have been placed under a health emergency and lockdown. Eastern Libya's health minister, Othman Abdul Jalil, said he had never seen this kind of situation in his life and pointed out the need to get more international aid. Despite political differences, Libyans are united to help one another after the deadly floods. On September 10, Hurricane Daniel made landfall in Libya, unleashing furious flash floods, heavy rain, and strong winds in eastern region of the North African country. Many countries and international organizations have responded to the Libyan government's appeal for emergency assistance by providing material and human supports, including the dispatch of search and rescue teams, medical resources, food, daily necessities, and other aids. Adebola Brookslyn, NTA News.
Capacity building in all its ramifications bring about achievable approach in managing most difficult situations for the overall development of society. Director General National Emergency Management Agency, NEMA, Mustafa Habib Ahmed, stated thus at the closing of the 3-day capacity building training for officials of NEMA and those of the state emergency management agencies in Abuja. Ilyasu Yakubu reports.
The training, which brought together the staff of NEMA and that of the state emergency management agencies, was a deliberate attempt to foster cooperation, collaboration, experience sharing, and enhance synergy between the federal and state agencies in the delivery of their mandate. It was also designed to strengthen capacity in the areas of humanitarian coordination mechanisms, disaster management cycle and institutional capacity, resource mobilization, information management, community-based disaster management, search and rescue, incident command system, disaster preparedness, risk management, and early warning system, among others. The DG NEMA said the agency is looking beyond the present and working towards building a more robust system of disaster management where all relevant stakeholders are not only aware but also prepared to carry out their roles in the management of disaster.
I therefore wish to congratulate the participants for being lucky to be part of this training. I encourage you to apply the knowledge gained and skills acquired towards improving the service rendered in your various agencies and locations.
The head of UN OCHA office, Mr. Trond Jensen, who was represented by the head of government, Liazin, Mr. Ibrahim Bari, promised that the UN organization will continue to collaborate with NEMA in the discharge of its mandates.
Our role as humanitarian is to support the government in responding to this.
The 2023 flood disaster is envisaged to be more devastating based on the seasonal climate prediction and flood outlook by NIMET and NISA. In Abuja, Ilyasu Yakubu, NTA News.
The Nigerian Meteorological Agency, NIMET, has advised pilots and airline operators to adhere strictly to weather guidelines being provided by the agency. Marine and seafarers also are advised to be watchful of the weather. Details with Musa Aliyu.
The high cases of boat mishaps is becoming a major concern in the country. Preliminary investigation revealed that the accidents were not attributed to weather conditions. However, NIMET said understanding the vagaries of the weather is paramount. The emphasis was more on air transportation, especially now that the country is expected to experience thunderstorms in the next coming days. The director said the federal government has invested heavily in the installation of modern equipment for weather monitoring and observation across the country, but says vandalism remains a major challenge.
There were locations that after doing upgrade today, after the following morning, everything is gone. And something in the bush that you do, nobody knows. The only thing that people will know if there is problem as a result of that. So
pilots and passengers are therefore advised to always monitor the weather before embarking on a journey. Musa Aliyu, NTA News.
While seeking ways to improve living conditions of workers, it will be important for government and the organized labor to be considerate of economic realities and be mindful of striking a balance that promotes economic growth and sustainable progress. Minister of Labor and Employment Simon Lalong insists as government and leadership of the Nigerian Labour Congress express willingness to continue with negotiations to avert impending nationwide strike.
Backed by industrial actions and unrest that have adversely affected the economy. I am here before you today not just as a representative of the government, but as an advocate for constructive dialogue, aspiring to understand your concerns and working hand in hand to find lasting solutions that benefit all Nigerians.
We had a fruitful deliberation and we have agreed to continue to make sure we arrive at a meaningful agreement within the remaining days of the ultimatum. We equally discussed, frankly, the issue against the National Union of Road Transport Workers, which has led to the detention of their democratically elected national officers. And both parties agreed to show concern towards the resolution of the matter.
Away from labor issues, our voice, our strength, our future is the theme for the 40th anniversary of the Professional Women Engineers in Nigeria, APWEN. The celebration is expected to attract captains of industry, regulators, government officials, engineering professionals, and other key stakeholders, with 30 paper presentations and communique expected at the event. Haman Jabani reports.
The National Conference by the National Association of Professional Women Engineers of Nigeria is the largest annual gathering of professional women engineers in the country. The forum is a gathering where female genders is encouraged to take up engineering as a profession through dissemination of technical knowledge and technology. President of the association, Elizabeth Etirogbo, said in the recent years, the body has been able to achieve so much in the training of students and teachers, providing scholarships, and have the first deputy national president of the Nigerian Society of Engineers, among others.
At this conference, we have come together to celebrate the power of our voice, the strength within us, and the limitless potential of our future in the world of engineering.
What next as the body clocks 40?
It is imperative that female engineers recognize the immense power that resides within them. Our voice are not mere utterances, they are instruments of change, catalysts for progress, and agents of empowerment.
International Conference, exhibition, and annual general meeting are a lineup of programs for the anniversary celebration. Haman Jabani, NTA News.
Next is Tuesday's weather prospect. And that's it on the news. On behalf of Precious Source, the madam who's been on sign language, I'm Nancy Godiangonehu, thanking you for watching.